Are you in control of your emotions or are your emotions in control of you? See, we often make the mistake of having these excuses where we have these emotions and we'll typically say, it's just my personality, it's just who I am, it's just the way that I am. I was just born this way, right? But in actuality, a lot of times, not to pathologize everything, but in actuality, a lot of times the emotions that we feel are the unhealed pain that we haven't dealt with. It is the emotional bleeding from situations that are still hinging over our heads. And so sometimes those excuses, when you think about the man at the pool of Bethesda, God asked him if he wanted to be healed, right? Do you want to be well? Do you want to get better? Do you want to see life in a different way? Do you want a transformation? And immediately he gave an excuse, the man at the pool of Bethesda. And he said, every time I try to get into the pool, which was the pool of healing, someone else would step in front of me and I can't get in. And so I want to ask you, how many times have you used excuses when there are solutions out there, when there's transformation ready for you, when God says that in John 10:10, the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but I came so that you may have life and have life more abundant. Are you actually working towards abundance when it comes to your excuses, right? When it comes to your emotions, how do they make you feel? And so it is for you to say, you know what, on my journey to better, on my journey to transformation, on my journey to wellness, on my journey to having a better mind, a better body, a better spirit, I can rest in the fact that my emotions is something that I have control over and they don't have to have control of me. And so to be on a wellness journey, it is not to just say, I need to have arms like Michelle or I need to have this six pack flat abs, but it's also to say that in this moment, I need to be in rest, right? I have willpower. God has given me the will to have control over the things that don't even have a brain, right? Your emotions, they don't have a brain. So that means that you have absolute control over them. It's just for you to say, I'm going to make a decision that when I come upon stressful situations, what can I do in those moments? And in those moments is for me to be in a complete walk of faith, right? And what does that look like? That looks like having faith and having works. What would be the works when you're dealing with something like anxiety? So, what would anxiety look like? Anxiety is an emotion, is characterized by feelings of tension. There are worried thoughts. There are physical changes like your increased blood pressure. All those things are occurring. Why? Because your mind and your body, they're both connected. So, wherever your mind goes, your body is going to flow. Wherever your mind thinks about, your heart is going to feel it, your lungs is going to feel it, your heart rate is going to feel it. All of those things is going to show up together. Right. And so this is why we're changing the face of wellness. It's not just about the vain pursuit, but it is about that deep pursuit. It is about God saying, I want you to have total abundance. I want you to walk in complete wellness, complete abundance. I want your mind, your body, and your spirit to be balanced as a whole, right? And so when we look at the word excuse, what is excuse? Excuse is a reason or explanation used to defend or justify a fault or an offense, right? And so anytime I have an excuse, I'm trying to defend or justify something that is not right, right? And so when I think about worry, a lot of time worry, we often have this excuse about why we can't get towards our abundance. So let's say, for example, right? Let's say, for example, you want to have more money. You might want to have more money. Your excuse may be, well, I don't have time to, go after it. I don't have time to build the business. I don't have time to write the book. I don't have time to try to sell the things that I'm trying to sell or to develop the product. I just don't have time. But when in actuality, what you might be saying is, I'm actually worried that nobody will buy from me. I'm actually worried that what I have is not good enough. I'm actually worried that somebody might talk about it, somebody might laugh at it. And so I'm just going to sit this excuse right here. So when God is saying, hey, I came so that you may have life and have life more abundant, I'm just not even going to go towards it. God is saying, do you want this abundance? And I'm just going to say no. Right. And so oftentimes our emotions stand in our own way. We got to learn how to get our emotions out of our own way so that we can actually go after John 10:10. And that's the back half of John 10:10. What does the front half of John 10:10 look like? The front half of John 10:10, God warns us that the enemy comes only to steal, to kill, and destroy. And a lot of our emotions are doing just that. We're allowing this thing that don't even have a brain. The thing that don't even have a brain, the anxiety, the worry, the frustrations, the anger, we're allowing those things to get in our own way. Those things don't have a brain. You do. That means you get to decide and make the decision about how you want your life to look. Do you want the anger to still kill and destroy you? Do you want the worry and anxiety to still kill and destroy your mind and your body? Do you want the frustration and the fatigue and the irritability to still kill and destroy from your mind, your body? But then not only that, it's stealing from your relationships, the relationships that you're having with your children, your spouse, your significant other, your employers, your employees, all of those things, right? And so number one relationship that is it is affecting is the relationship that you're having with yourself. And so when we're changing the face of wellness, we want to change how we are approaching life in such a way where we can be balanced. A lot of people are going to talk about when it comes to balance, balance is not real. Your mind and your body don't want to hear that. How do I know that? Your mind wants to have clarity. Your emotions, when they get in the way, you get lack of clarity. The enemy still kills and destroys it. Now you can't make better decisions. Now you don't have boundaries. Now you're allowing any and everything in your stratosphere, right? It's coming to steal, kill, and destroy. It affects your body, the high blood pressure. Your emotions affect your high blood pressure. They affect your breathing. They affect all those things. And so the real question becomes, well, what can we lean on? So that we're not like the man at the pool of Bethesda who is having all of these excuses, who's standing in his own way, who is allowing himself to sit in that unhealed space when there is so many people around you, when God is around you, when there's a lot of principles, when there's strategies, when there's transformations that's right at your fingertips that you can have. See, you are the creator of your future. What does that mean? That means exactly what you want. If you just say, this is what I want, it's possible for you to have it as long as you got the faith of a mustard seed, right? And when you have those emotions standing in the way, that faith is going to be smaller than a mustard seed. It might not even be there because now you're dealing with emotions of doubt, of fear, of shame, all the things. And so, one of the things that I've had to deal with is I've had to deal with a couple of emotions, right? I've had to deal with my anger. When I first got married, anytime my husband would come to me and say, "You know what? I got something that I want to talk to you about. We need to get better in this area when it comes to these things in our relationship." And I would immediately get offensive. I would immediately get offensive, get offended. And so I had to walk back and say, "Why is it that every time he comes to me about something, I get offended?" Right. And so I had to dig down deep. But not only that, I had to learn how to, number one, here are your strategies. I had to, number one, learn how to rewrite my story. So that means I had to go back into my past and say, where in my life did this start to come where I would get offended or offensive about people coming to me about, things that they wanted to see better, whether that was on my job, whether that was when I was young. I had to rewrite that. I had to rewrite my past to say, okay, who is it that I need to forgive? Who do I need to look at and say, maybe I need to have a conversation with them and have a better understanding because now it's trickling into my marriage? And then rewrite my future to say, what do I want my marriage to actually look like? Right? I don't want it to be in a place where my husband has to deal with the anger because he's not deserving of that. So that one scripture I had to lean on was love your neighbors as yourself. We often look at that scripture and we think of people that we don't know. A lot of times we hurt the people who's closest to us. Those are our neighbors as well. And so I had to gravitate towards that principle. I had to be able to love those who are closest to me and not just showing people who don't know me more love, but those who are closest to me, starting with my husband and really even starting with myself, right? And being able to say, it's okay. You're not doing anything wrong. It's only going to make you better. How much more do you want out of your marriage? How much more do you want out of yourself? Right. And so I had to do that. And then number two, get rid of excuses. I had to get rid of the excuse. What is an excuse again? A reason or explanation used to defend or justify a fault or offense. Right. Why am I sitting here trying to defend something that I know is wrong? Come on now. I'm sitting here trying to defend something that someone else is saying needs to be better. And so now what my future Right now, what it looks like since having walked through that personal growth and that personal development, anytime my husband comes to me, I say, I hear you because I absolutely do. I have control of my emotions. I do. And you do as well. And so the worry, anxiety, the fatigue, the frustration, the bitterness, the anger, the ill will, all of those things, you have control over those things. It's up to you to decide, how am I going to renew my past and my future? How am I going to rewrite my story? How am I going to get rid of those excuses? And then the next one is, what is the solution so that I can get there? Right? If you want to be better personally, if you want your mind and your body to be at its most optimal level, if you want to have better relationships, if you want to have better relationships with others and better relationships with yourself, then it's about, what are the solutions that I need to walk into so that I can actually get that transformation. And so the last one, transformation. What is the transformation that I can make sure that I continue to bring into my life so that I can continue to walk in the fullness of abundance that God has for me? Because again, remember, your emotions, they don't have a brain. You do. Your emotions don't have a brain. You have a brain. You can decide, how am I going to transform my life in such a way that I can actually have doors opening, the abundance of doors opening for me, right? And so what we see, I want you to hang your hat on Proverbs 19 and 8. Proverbs 19 and 8. This is the message version, right? And it says, grow a wise heart. You'll do yourself a favor. Keep a clear head. You'll find a good life. Keep a clear head. You'll find a good life. That's Proverbs, right? And so, in the wisdom, do you not have enough wisdom? Maybe you don't have enough wisdom because you're not asking for it, because you feel like my emotions is just my emotions. It's just who I am. It's just what I do. It's just my personality. It's what I'm used to. I've never seen anything different. I was just born this way. It's just me. Shoulder shrug. Like, I believe that once we get to a certain age, just a certain age that certain people get to, where they kind of just say, this is just me. And you know what? For a long time, I just believed that. It's like, okay, maybe once I hit 40, my emotion, it'll just be, it is what it is. But I believe that once we stop growing, that means we have stopped getting wisdom. And we have to get we have to get out of that false narrative that just because I'm a certain age, I'm wise. That just because I reached this older age, I have all of this wisdom. You do have wisdom, but guess what? There's more wisdom to get. There's more wisdom to hang your hat on. There is more wisdom for you to achieve, and you can't stop growing. Yes? So I am Rachel Harper. I am your wellness coach. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast. This podcast is called Changing the Face of Wellness. This is where we get our mind, our body, and our spirit into a place of rest so that we can have more clarity for where God is trying to take us, right? And oftentimes where he is trying to take us, it is into a place of abundance. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure you share, you like, you subscribe, all the things. If you want to watch on YouTube, you can go to The Rachel Harper to watch on YouTube, or you can listen on any podcast platform, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, all those places you can find me so that you can put me in your ears and so that you can gravitate towards God's total abundance. It's time for you to get in control of your emotions. And so let me leave you with this quote. This is what Billy Graham said. Our emotions can lie to us, and we need to encounter our emotions with truth. So make sure today you are walking through your day, acknowledging your emotions and not giving your emotions an excuse. Yes? All right. I'll see you in the next one.